You're listening to the Womanpreneur Podcast. Empowerment in business and life.
Welcome to the Womanpreneur Podcast. My name is Amanda McCune. Sitting next to me here is the lovely Melissa Moats.
Thank you very much. And sitting next to me, it's like this chain of loveliness. Ready?
Chain of loveliness.
I'm going to pass it on down. I am really excited to introduce our special guest today, Alicia Materra, who is the founder of Las Vegas Baby Company. I was combining words. Did you like that?
Las
Yes,
Vegas.
it should have come. So someone stopped me on the freeway or at the gas station. And they're like, "What's Las Vegas Baby?" Like they were traveling, and I was like, "No, I teach childbirth classes." But I thought it was something exciting because it was Las Vegas Baby, right? So
Well,
sorry,
Las
I just went totally
Vegas
out there.
Baby. No, that's how we roll
Good, that's how
around
we do
these
it.
parts.
You're going to fit in fine.
So, yes, we're really excited to have you. Thank you for being our guest.
Thank you for having me.
And you, my friend, are truly the definition of resilience. We always like to have topics on our show and awesome guests, and you fit the bill for both. So,
Thanks.
hey.
Hey.
So before I start asking you questions and Amanda starts asking you questions, I just want to jump right into kind of how we met and a little bit about your past and just how much I admire your resilience and how you just go with the flow and course correct when needed.
Correct. You were right.
So I'm gonna jump into this. We were talking before we started to shoot today, and I met Alicia. How many years ago was that?
I was thinking the other day. I think like 15.
Yeah.
It was 2004 that I started my salon in that. So somewhere in that first year
Yeah.
is when we met.
So about 15 years ago, I met Alicia when she was opening up her salon. And as a matter of fact, she did my hair for many years. My hair was looking really great back then. But she opened up a salon with Nick, right? You guys were business partners
Correct,
in that.
yes.
Your husband, Nick, and we're going to talk about him too. Shampoo salon. And you had that salon for about 4 years. So tell me a little bit about what it was like to be a salon owner.
Well, it probably set me up for all the other businesses I opened, just having, I honestly went in knowing nothing.
Yeah.
Looking back, right? You hindsight, right? You're
Always.
like, wow, what was I thinking? It's sometimes challenging working with women, right?
We know. Yep.
Not us, but some. So that was a little shocking, and especially to my husband, he was like, "What is wrong with these people?" Right? So, learned a ton in that time, good and bad things, But it was something I always wanted to do.
Yeah. If you're looking back at opening up a salon and obviously
and we built it from the ground up.
Yeah.
And I will never do that again either. That was like, I know.
so much work.
Oh my gosh.
What would you
yes.
say if you were to pick like a few things that you really loved about that experience, like that journey, like that stands out in your mind? What are a few things that you loved?
Well, I think I found myself a lot in that time. So for personally, I just learned so much that, and of course, being resilient, I take everything as a learning experience. I don't look at anything really negative. Well, you're the same. Like we find the best in every situation. I think that's a quality we both have, right?
Yeah. And Amanda too.
That's why I'm smiling over here.
I smiled at her because when you said it, that's something that Amanda and I talk a lot about on our podcast is just, everything is an opportunity to grow and to learn and to get better. And there really is no such thing as failure. Like that's something that we really are passionate about. So
Success is each individual person, right? And if they're happy with what they're doing and the way they're doing it, money isn't success.
Right.
I don't think. I'm getting way off subject here.
yeah, no, it's right there.
But yeah, so what I learned in that time. I learned just how to be a better business owner, I think, during that. Learned back from my mistakes that I did. Learned a lot about people and how to work with women and people. And but you know what it mainly set me up for? Being a hairstylist is like being a therapist, right? And I really feel that what I do now and how I'm so good at it maybe now is partly that, just learning different personalities. People sit down in your chair, you're like, okay, what was they say last time? Oh, remember her husband did this, or, and so having to just adjust your personality to that each client.
Yes.
I learned that a lot in that time.
And being a good listener and just like how to navigate different personality types. And
and you can't, I hate to say that you can't learn it, because again, I'm saying I learned it, but I do think you have to have something in you to be able to adjust to the personalities.
And you have to be willing to do it. And I think that's what it stops a lot of people, because they don't want to change their ways. They want other people to do what they want them to do or do it their way. But any time you're in a management kind of situation, you need to be the one to adapt.
And what's funny is I don't want to be anyone's manager. That's the part that I get so frustrated with, is because I don't want to be in charge of people. I want them just to do what they're supposed to do, like I would do what I'm supposed to do if I was working for them. That's what I really want out of this.
You're a leader, and you're a person who isn't afraid of, if you understand the expectations or different things that that define your role or what you're doing, you just take initiative and you do those things. You don't need someone to micromanage you. So you like working with people who you can say, okay, so this is what you're going to be doing. Here's the thing. And then them run with it. You don't want to babysit, so for sure.
And I want them to make their responsible decisions and, do things.
Have good judgment.
Yes.
Yeah.
We talked about that.
Yeah. It's tricky, but so, when you guys opened up the salon, I know, gosh, how long had you been doing hair before you opened up the salon?
Not even that long, 4 years.
Yeah.
3.5 years, maybe.
And it kind of adds to my point too, about Alicia and her personality and her just, I don't know, the spirit you have of like, just can-do-itness. Like, I love it because it's like you were doing hair 4 years and then you're like, yeah, I'm going to open up my own salon. From the ground up. I mean, I remember that build that was going on in there. And by the way, you always have the best style. Like, that place was so cool.
It's still there. Like, it's closed now. Like, I sold it and then they had it for a little bit and then they might have sold it and then they had it for a little bit and then it shut down finally. But it's still there, and I still peek in the window when I go up there and my chairs with the leopard seats. Do you remember I did that? And I'm the cheetah fan.
Maybe subliminally. I don't know, maybe today when I was picking out my sweater, I was feeling going back to the shampoo salon days.
And so it's still, like I said, remember those like things that were separating? They're still hanging. So I get to see all
her
of them.
Decorations are timeless. Okay.
Got it.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Hey, I love it. So you did the whole salon journey, and then one of the things that I remembered thinking, over this time was you got to the point where you'd made a decision one day that being a salon owner and doing what you were doing was no longer it didn't feel like it was fitting with you.
It was honestly in the time when everything was dropping. Yeah. We were in 2007-8 when I sold it, right?
Yeah.
So surprised
economic
I even sold
downturn,
it, right?
Yeah.
So it was that. It was a combination of a lot of things that were going on. Again, having a hard time finding good employees and just people that, were doing what I wanted to do. And so it was all of it, just,
So you made a decision that it was time to sell the salon. So you went ahead and put the salon up for sale, and you guys ended up selling.
And I work for the new owners. See how easy I am?
Wow. And you work for the new owners. Wow, that takes a person who doesn't have ego issues to be able to do.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I eventually did leave. It was, I don't remember exactly, maybe less than a year. And then I moved on to a different place. But
That's cool, though.
A nice way to make a transition, though, for both sides, I'm sure, having you there.
I was there to help. That's what,
That's really cool.
That's what I do.
Yeah, I know how you roll. I know you're a really good human being.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Well, then I saw Alicia again, and she was really pumped up, and she's like, hey, so guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to open up this really cool mom and baby boutique called The Wild Child. And I was like, of course you are, you wild child, you.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about that journey.
Well, what happened there was I about a year after selling the salon, I got pregnant with my third child, and I was going to have a home birth. And so in my way of doing things, I started researching it to death, and I came across doulas and these birth support people and midwives and all this field of things that I didn't know existed. And so when I was 8 months pregnant, I took my first doula training, which was 11 years ago now, just in October. And so that's where that came from. So when my daughter was born, then I quit doing hair within a couple months from that point, and I opened the baby store with the intention of like, oh, I'll bring the pregnant people to me, and then I'll be their doula, and I'll do all the things and do, that.
Yes.
What happened in that process is we visited Portland, Oregon, and my husband's a musician. And so we were like, oh, it's baby doula midwife central, it's musician, we're gonna move to Oregon. And so about a year-ish into that, I sold it, and I was planning to sell everything and move to Oregon, and we never left.
Yeah.
So.
Oh no, because I was like, oh man, my friend Alicia's moving to Oregon.
We talked about it for a while.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss seeing her. And I'd see her, and she'd go, don't worry, we're not. It's a little ways out, but we're still gonna do it. And then again, you were just like, so some things changed, something pretty big happened. So, want to talk about that?
Well, I got pregnant again, and then that baby was born at 24 weeks. And so she was a 1 pound, 11 ounce baby who spent almost 4 months in the hospital. So that, and again, I was already in this work, and, I had my own thoughts of what I assumed was going to be the outcome of that. And I was telling you before, I think that life experience alone has changed me, because I'm like, you can hear my voice. I still get thinking about going through that. Sometimes I can't even believe I went through that. Like, you just go through it because you have to.
Well, I remember, when she was born, and I remember seeing some of the pictures that you shared about your journey, and I mean, even like on Facebook and stuff, and she was so tiny.
And even more in person. Like, she looked big in the pictures.
A pound.
Yes. She got down to weighing 1.8. And then,
she was your little miracle baby. And that really changed your life.
Like I told you, I was like, if she can make it through this, I swear nothing will ever bother me again. Nothing will ever be as serious as this. And if I can have a healthy child, everything else means nothing. Like, I will never stress about anything again. Like, nothing.
Well, it's interesting how when something like that happens, the way that it impacts your perspective of like what's important in life and how you measure what is big, versus
when you think your child or if your child's sick or you think they're going to die, it changes you as a person. And so, and again, I'm in a baby field. Like, I work with babies all the time, and moms, and, just all these things. And I'm always there to support them. But it was really hard when it was me having to.
But it's like you going through that situation. I think now, I mean, we're kind of revving up to kind of where you are now here in a few minutes, but it's like you going through that, better than anyone, what that feels like, and all those fears and all of those conversations that are happening in a new mom's mind and all that kind of stuff. Right. But and
everything sets me up for the next thing I do in my life. I feel like that's kind of how it's flowed.
Well, I do want to say Ivy is how old now?
She turned 7 in September, and she's healthy. She's a second grader. She drives us crazy. Like, it's all good.
Right there, I mean, that's resilience. And the kid, that kid fought to stay alive. Whether, people have different opinions of
girl. They told
the
us
stubbornness.
That. Yes, they told us that in the hospital. One day she's going to make you mad. And of course, when you're in it, you're like, I only hope one day. Well, now I'm in it. And I'm like, okay, we're done.
and we know you wouldn't change a thing.
Right.
But yeah, maybe that's the perspective. Sometimes when she's being like that, you have to remember, oh, right, we wanted you there.
Right. We do. Well, she is a little personality, let me tell you. And I love some of the posts and stuff you make with her in Ireland dancing, and they're like, strutting their stuff and flipping their hair, and they're a couple of really cute girls. Yeah, they are little divas.
They are,
but they're so cute. But I love so thankfully, Ivy, she is healthy and good, and you got through that super scary chapter in your life. But one of the things I love too is that at 40 years young, you decided to go back to school.
It was actually, my due date was December 27th with her, and I had her on September 11th. So we begged them to bring her home by Christmas. We were like, please let us have her. So they let us go at midnight on Christmas Eve, okay? So it all worked out fine. But my point of that was 3 weeks from that point is when I started college. Because, just take on all the challenges.
Better jump right back in.
Why not?
But that seems to be just your way. And I'm a big fan of that way.
Yes.
This bad thing happened, whatever, we got through it. It's time for the next thing now.
Yep. She's home now. So now I'm going to hit the books. I'm going to be a college student.
But it was rough. Looking back, again, I did have some postpartum anxiety, obviously from having a NICU baby, which, is part of what I do now, which we'll get into later. But I would be standing, my voice, like you just heard, I get upset. Yeah. I had to give speeches at school, and I would just start bawling in front of everybody. Like I wasn't even myself still, but again, I was in it, so I wasn't seeing it as much as I see now, looking back. But it was, I went to school full time for 3 years. And I thought I was going to go to nursing school. That was the whole point of it. I got all the way to the end to get into the nursing program, and then I decided to come back to the birth support world and doula stuff and open my other business.
Well, and so you opened up Doulas of Las Vegas.
Yes.
And do you want to talk about that?
I opened up Doulas of Las Vegas with the intention of supporting moms through the hospital. People think of doulas and all these things. They think home births, they think natural births. And I came in with a little different perspective where I wanted to support hospital moms. I wanted to support them in whatever their choices were because there's no right way. And so,
can you explain for our listeners the difference between a doula and a midwife?
I'm glad, because prior to today, as somebody who knows nothing about babies or anything related, I have no idea what a doula is. So I'm learning through this episode. And I'm like, please tell us what she is.
And I'm happy to educate everybody on what that is. So a doula is a birth support person. We do not do anything medical. We teach, we educate, and we support. Mainly where that support comes in is while you're in labor. And so we're there to talk to you, rub your back, give you drinks, whatever that is, help your husband or partner in that, whatever that family needs. So that's what a doula does. A midwife is the medical person. So she actually delivers the baby, does prenatal visits, makes medical decisions, that type of stuff. A doula should not. There is some that do. But you should not be making medical decisions, or, you can suggest, but you always follow up with, but ask your provider, those type of things. So again, I came out, in my beginning of doula work, I did mainly home births. Like that's what I did. And there was times that, I saw moms feel like they failed a little bit because they worked up and, my body's made to do this and da-da-da-da-da. And then they transported or whatever the situation was. And then they kind of felt like they failed. And I'm like, no, you still had a baby. Like everything is, So that was always in the back of my mind. And so when I came back, I opened Doulas of Las Vegas, but that doula word is already tainted a little bit with what they assume that we are, or they don't know, right? They're like, oh, you're the midwife, or you're this. And so I ended up rebranding.
You're that weird hippie thing for people who don't want to do it the normal way. I'm putting normal in air quotes.
And again, water births, and they just associate it with certain things. And I wasn't just that. I was like, no, I do a whole bunch of other things. So I decided a year ago to rebrand to Las Vegas Babyco. Just so I did, mainly because I'm sick of explaining it too. Like every time it'd be like a whole 5-minute conversation after I said my business name on what that was, where now I don't, and when I talk about what I do now, I call myself more like a birth support professional, a postpartum, and that seems to, or a birth coach, or something that they understand a little more, where I don't have to, follow it up with that explanation.
Did this come about because like when you had your first kid, you realized how hard it was and how it would be nice to have a support person, or was it just something?
Because I don't think I never had a doula. And I've had 4 kids, and I never had a doula at any of my births, and I don't feel like I missed out or needed one either. So no, it's just a career that I love. Like I was a young girl. Remember, like I was always been fascinated with pregnancy. I was like my cat's doula for all of her pregnancies. Like this has been a long time thing. And then I always wanted to be a nurse, and my aunt was a labor and delivery nurse growing up, and I was always fascinated, like, oh, what does that consist of? And so it's been there, but I didn't think I wanted to be a nurse, so that turned me off. So then I went to beauty school instead, and but so I still didn't want to be a nurse when I went back to school. I just thought that's the only way to make money in this career, right? If I want to support women and I want to work with them, I have to do that route. And so when I came back over, I was like, no, I'm going to make this work my way, because that's what I do, right? And I'm going to work really hard at it until it works. Yeah. And so that's what I'm doing.
I love that. It's kind of how I did things too. It was, okay, well, the only way people would say to make money was to go get the big corporate jobs. So you got to do all these things. And I didn't want to do all those things. I went to school late in life too. I'd started back in, when I finished high school, but I didn't finish until 2015. I went back and I was like, I'm going to finish school. And all it really was a piece of paper that didn't do anything other than make me realize, like, no, I know what I'm doing, and I'm going to find a way to do it myself, because I don't want the corporate life.
No, and that's what I would think. If I go to nursing school, and then I'm going to work in the hospital, and then they're going to tell me when I can take a break and like go to lunch, and like I don't work. I've worked for myself for 18 years now.
Yeah.
So,
well, once you work for yourself and you feel what that tastes like, and you experience that, it's really hard to going back to having somebody else tell you, when you're allowed to use the restroom or go make a phone call or go eat your lunch or whatever.
Any of it. And I don't know how this is going to work.
No, but I love that we kind of went through this journey of, let's say 10 to 15 years, because what I love about you as a person and your story and your journey has been that you have this spirit behind everything you do, that you're like, I'm going to do this. This feels right now. This is what's calling me. And you wholeheartedly go at it like a freight train of awesome that you are. And then as soon as you're like, no, not feeling it, like this isn't it, you have, I mean, maybe you do have fear in it. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but you still honor yourself and you change and do the next thing that's calling you next. So talk about that.
Well, I thought about that actually when you gave me this word, and like obviously with IV and that whole thing. But the other part of that is, without even realizing I was doing this, I always have a backup plan. So before I even start plan A, I already have plan B, just in case, right? I'm always sitting on something. I'm sitting on something right now that, if something doesn't work out, then we'll see where that other thing goes. But that's what I really think is what it is I'm just already ready in case.
And what is your driving factor when you decide to change your mind? Because that's what stops a lot of people in their tracks, is they're scared that, well, I've already invested all this time into this. I better keep doing it. Otherwise, I just wasted all that time, when it's not a waste of time. But do you rely...
It's a learning experience. But no, I definitely have those thoughts.
And does it just come from instincts for you? Is it with what feels right? Because that's what Melissa and I talk about all the time. Is you have all the answers that we all have are within us if we're open to listening. And if you pay attention to your instinct, it's going to tell you when it's time to change paths or when you need to stick with the one you're on.
Yeah. I just went to a training last week, and they were talking about how they have found brain cells in our stomach now. So when you get those gut feelings, it's really real things.
Is that why I think about food all the time? Because I do. Like,
that is hilarious.
It's the number one reason I'm not good at meditation, because I go straight to food. Now it makes sense. My brain cells are in my stomach.
Right? There you go.
You just explained your life for me. I'm good.
Amanda has more brain cells in her stomach than most. Not all of your brain cells, because you're a very smart girl.
Thanks.
But what I'm saying
I'm also
is
very hungry.
You have You have more food thoughts than most.
I do.
See, now you know why.
I love that about her.
Sorry.
But I
We
think
digress sometimes.
I know that's how we
It
roll.
happens.
But oh my gosh, but I love that about you because you're a constant learner. You're always thinking, and you're always like you're ready to go. You're ready to just keep on moving.
I love change.
Yeah.
Change is like, I need change. If things don't shift up, I have to shift them up myself because it's boring.
Yeah.
Like I'm looking for the next, and I really do have that mindset. It's come later in life, I think. There was a point where my grandmother, who was my favorite person ever, she would say, you have to stop caring what people think, right? And I was like, how? Like, how does that even happen? Like, I couldn't even fathom that. Like, what?
It's hard.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I think with age, right? I'm 45 now. So with age, obviously you shift, your mind shifts and different things. So I've learned it somewhere down the road just to kind of, I'm okay with standing alone. Yeah. I don't know how I found that confidence either. I'm not going to say that I'm not scared or nervous and ask my husband. Yeah. He can tell you a whole different side of things because he's my person I vent to most, right? So he can give you some insight.
But you use that fear to motivate you to succeed.
Yes.
So that kind of fear is healthy.
Feeling like I accomplished something. I love that feeling. Yeah. So I think that keeps me going too.
Yeah. We talked in a recent episode, somebody had mentioned the word stagnation, and we find that an icky word. And it sounds like that's what you are. If you do the same thing over and over and over, it gets boring.
I don't know how people do.
Some people live in that world.
Forever. Like their whole entire life. It's the same job, the same friend, the same house. I'm like, I don't know how that works.
I know. No, it definitely starts to get I don't know, stagnant.
Yes. and I'm really regimented, as we all know. So I think everybody assumes that I would be happy in that. But since I left the job life is what I always say. It's a job.
I love that you say that.
I know, because every day is different.
You have to make that first step, right?
Yes.
And then
that's the hard one.
Right. It can kind of flow.
You've taken that step a bunch of times, and I admire that.
But again, I'm self-employed. So it's like, I could go to the easier route, right? And get a job and do those things. But I like the challenge of it too. And
when we talk about resilience, you've gotten through everything that you've been through. You've changed your mind before and it worked. So there, at some point, there's no reason to really worry that it's not going to work out, because it always has.
And I trust that.
And you haven't failed at anything. So
because I believe, which you guys I'm sure would agree with, if you work hard at something, you're going to get results. If you expect it to come, it's right. It's a simple thing, but most people don't. And especially in Las Vegas, right? I always joke around, all you have to do is show up.
Yeah.
Here. If you show up, you're already ahead of the game, right?
Yes.
Or return a phone call or whatever it is. In our town, again, I've lived here 20 years, so I'm not familiar a whole bunch with what's outside of here. I've gotten used to the flakiness in our town, but it really is that. Most people are just flakes.
It's interesting that you say that, just because we're in completely different industries, but it's the same thing. And that's a lot of the people who aren't progressing the way they would like to. It's because they're not doing the work. They're not showing up.
They just want it to fall in their lap. Well, that would be great if that happened.
Because there's a difference between thinking, dreaming, imagining, daydreaming, all these things that we want, that would be so fun to do, or that would be such a great thing, or I feel like that's my calling. But if you're not taking any action, it's just going to continue to be that thing forever for you until you actually make a move on it. But I was just going to say that, to add to what Amanda mentioned, you've made these decisions and you've taken these chances and said, I'm going to do these things. But could you say that with each one of these different journeys that you've been on and transitions, that the decision making of, I'm making a switch, you've gotten to be more confident with it?
Yes, I trust my gut.
It's gotten easier.
Yes. And again, it might seem like it was a quick decision, but it's been on my mind for months, before I make that decision. It's something, and I've gotten to where I do that. Like, I try not to make a split decision anymore. I was that person before, because I'm like, let's jump through, right? Yeah. But I've learned as I've gotten older to just step back and kind of see what happens and let it play itself out. And then I just kind of go with it until I realize, this is where it needs to be done.
I love that too. I love everything that you say, because people try to force things instead of having the confidence in themselves and just the way that life works, to think sometimes you can take a back seat almost, because the things that need to happen are going to happen. You still have to work for them and all of that, but just trusting that it's going to happen when it's supposed to. And it might not be at the pace that you want it to.
No, it's
but
not
you have
at
to
the pace
trust,
you want it to.
Right. And just trusting that, okay, it's not going the way I want it to.
But again,
I'm not
I think it
goes
back to, I know myself. I know how much I'm going to put into it. I know what I'm going to give. So I trust myself to know that I'm going to make this change, but I know I'm a hard worker. I'm reliable. I'm all the things. So
you're perfectly
we'll
capable.
Everybody is, if they just put their mindset to that.
It's just funny that you say that, because on the drive over here, I was having thoughts about that. And it's like, really, people always want to know, like, what's the secret to life? And nobody knows the real answer to that. But that knowing yourself and trusting yourself really unlocks most of it. Yep. Because the instinct is there and everything you need to know is there. But a lot of people don't know themselves well enough to listen to that, all the internal stuff.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, they look externally for the answers when you don't need to.
Yeah, and
I have so many things I want to accomplish still in life, and I really am in that mindset of we only live once, right? And I'm running out of. The years are flying by all of a sudden, and I've been raising kids my whole life, and that's a challenging thing for me, because I still have young kids. I have my kids. My oldest kid is 24, and then I have a 22-year-old. I have a 10-year-old. Almost 11-year-old and 7.
Oh, those are big gaps.
Yeah. So I've been raising kids my entire life. And so that's a challenge I struggle with, because I want to travel. I want to do like all these things, but I have a second grader.
So that's the big goal, right? That most people talk about now is that work-life balance. How do you do that with all the kids and the businesses and the personal goals? Yeah. Tell us your secrets.
Me and my husband, we talk about this because, which you probably know too, we run our relationship and our household like a business. I really think that's how everyone thinks it flows easy, but it's not that it flows easy. It's that we are very structured. Like, okay, you're here today and you're taking this one and you're doing this. And, my husband's self-employed too. So we have that perk, because we get to travel a lot and go out of town. It's like, oh, you're off this weekend? Okay, let's go out of town. And, that's nice. But I think just because I have a great support system and we just run it like a business and that's because our schedule literally changes daily. Yep. Maybe, we have to check in every couple of days. Okay, did you put anything extra? Did we do this? And really have to keep it. And I don't know how we've gotten it so streamlined, but
you guys are such an incredible couple. And I would love to take a second to talk a little bit about you and Nick. Nick is such an amazing person. Comes as no surprise to me, because you are, and you guys are just we're made for each other. But would you mind telling Amanda and I and all of our awesome listeners a little bit about you and Nick?
Yeah. Nick and I met when we were 12, and we dated through high school. And then after high school, the reason we broke up was because I wanted to be a mom and start a family. And that was my dream. And Nick is a musician, and he wanted to be a musician and play music. And he actually said when we were younger, I won't have kids or I won't get married till I'm 35. We had our first daughter when he was 35. So funny how that worked out.
Wow.
Yeah.
He knew himself.
There's an instinct.
Yeah.
So then we broke up after high school, and I got married to someone else, and that's my older 2 boys. That's I was married for 7 years, and then Nick and I had gotten back in contact in that time, probably 3 years of that. Actually, my second son wasn't even born. He had called me up one day, and he had called my grandma and got my phone number, saying it was somebody else. So then he called me.
Just calling up the grandma. That's a good move. Grandmas know stuff.
I lived in Arizona at that time, and he had moved to Vegas. We grew up in California. And so he just called me one day, and I was like, oh my gosh. And so then we kept in contact for like 3 or 4 years. He had a band at the time, and they were like touring and doing all these things. And so we started talking, and then one day I thought, you know what am I doing? Like, I want to be over here. I don't want to be over here. So one of those things too, where I just made a decision, and I'm like, we're out.
Whether it's business or personal, Alicia's like, you know what?
This isn't
All
serving
right,
me.
I'm out.
And my kids were 2 and 5, and it was a scary thing. And I actually told Nick I'm going to leave my husband, and Nick freaked out. It was like, didn't call me for like 2 weeks. And I was like, okay, what does this mean? And so then he finally came back. I was like, okay, we're going to do this.
I just needed a minute.
Right. And so what actually happened was his sister was moving here at the same time. And so I moved to Vegas, sold my house, divorced, took the kids, moved to Vegas. The kids actually stayed with their dad the first year when I went to beauty school and all the things. And so I lived with his sister the first year, and we kind of were feeling it out, right? And then after that, we decided, as soon as I graduated beauty school, within that week, we drove to Texas, picked up my kids because they were gone for that whole year. You probably didn't know, you weren't there then.
Yeah.
But
I think I met you a few years later, but I remember you telling me about that transition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a rough one.
Yeah.
But all had to have a purpose, right?
Yeah.
And so we picked him up, we drove him back, and by then they were 6 and I don't know, 3 or something like that. And so Nick took on a whole life of having children, and that whole thing, school,
what I love about you and Nick is, I mean, like you said, at this point, I loved the way you said, like, we run our relationship like we run a business. But, you guys are business partners, your life partners, your best friends. And that's the way I feel about Troy, my husband. Yeah. And, I mean, we do all things together, and I love that. I really, and I know you guys are the same. And tell me what works so well about your relationship with Nick.
That we're friends.
Yeah.
Friends first. That's a big, big deal. And so we regained that friendship in that years while I was still married, right? That was a friendship type of thing going.
Yeah.
And so we had that. When the first year I moved here, we got in a lot of fights. So I wasn't even sure like where we were going at that point, but we made it work somehow. And, not to say there hasn't been some up and downs over the years, of course, but he supports me in everything I do. I was thinking about this the other day because, in the beginning days when I'd start throwing things, he's kind of more like, now I think he sees that I've get out of them if I want and how they flow. So he doesn't question me.
He sees your track record. He's like, man, my woman, she is solid.
He's like, do whatever. I'm here if you need me, but okay. And literally it's like that. He'll come home from work or something one day and like, guess what I'm doing now? I have a whole business plan written out for this. And, and he's like, okay.
What's popping in my head as you're talking is just, I think women in general, and guys too, I mean, everybody, we have so many ways that we talk ourselves out of doing things, and it's mostly just the fear talking, right? But I think sometimes if you add the extra thing in, the extra layer of, oh, well, I can't do that because I'm a mom, or I'm a dad, I have kids, I have a family that I have to take care of. This is very irresponsible of me to even be thinking about these dreams of mine while I'm actively raising my family. But you've been doing all of these things since the very beginning, since your boys, who are now young adults, were little, and you've been flexing this muscle. I mean, you've got some big muscles at this point, woman.
To be honest, I don't think about it. If I thought about it like that, I probably wouldn't take as many risks. maybe.
Right.
Because I would start checking off all the, but what if. But it
would have been a bigger risk had you just stayed and just done the thing that you were doing that at that time was no longer filling you up inside. And that to me is a bigger cost than any quote unquote mistake that you could make along the way. And I use that word loosely because we don't,
nothing is
you
a
know,
mistake,
it isn't. But, you know, so I hope that moms, dads, even, you know, everyone who's listening can see and feel, I mean, you can make things happen if you really want to make them happen, no matter how much responsibility you have on your plate, no matter if you have young children, if you have any kind of obstacle in your mind. I mean, not only, another huge thing that you guys overcame was with Ivy. I mean, with that is a life and death situation, and you kept pressing on and kept pressing through it. And I mean, I'm just,
he'll say the same about that experience. Like, we don't know how we got through it, especially because like our daughter, we had Ireland, that's my other daughter at the time. And she wasn't allowed in the NICU. So Nick and I could not go in together.
Yeah.
So we'd have to take turns and, okay, you go this time and I go this time. And so there was a lot of that. But again, you're in it. You just have to make it work. I mean,
when you're in it, you just keep taking a step forward and putting one foot in front of the other, and you just keep doing it. But I mean, honestly, you are such a big inspiration to me, and you're such a good friend, and I know you're a good mom, and I know you're a great partner to Nick. I mean, I love you guys as a couple, but I just really admire everything that you've done, and you're still doing.
I'm the same.
Thanks, girl. No, I love it.
I was talking to my friend this morning about just when we first met and how I've seen you grow over the years as well in this whole thing.
Thanks,
so
girl. Well, it's fun. It's exciting.
And you know all the things I'm saying, you've lived. So
well, we all have our own, like, you know, crazy roadmap we're trying to follow, and
I love it though.
I do too.
I love having these experiences and just going through it. I mean, even the hard times, you know, finding the good. That's like we talked about. It's always finding the good in the situation. There is one, whatever.
Always.
There's something there that you have to find, and that changes your perspective. And when you change your perspective, things start to change in the better, right?
Yeah. And like you said, life is short. To me, the biggest risk is having that life of wondering, well, what if I would have tried?
That is my
What if I
biggest
would have
fear.
gone
Yes.
after
Yep.
the things that I wanted? That's what would terrify me more than anything, is that when I get to the end, that I'm going to have all these regrets of the things that I didn't do because I was scared to start or to try.
Yeah.
No,
and
I don't want to
clearly
be that
don't
person
have that.
either. No,
So,
no. I said a whole list of things I would love to still accomplish in my life, and I don't want to be that person and on my, you know, at the end going, why?
and also this concept of running your life like a business. It's the whole basis of this podcast. It's that all of the principles of business, when applied to your life, they're all the same. And we had a guest on here, Jamie Newberry, and that's how she got out of her rut in her career, and a lot of changed paths also. It was, she's a designer, and she decided, well, what if I design my life like it was a project? And that's what changed everything for her. And I hear you say this, it's like, well, I run my life like a business. There's a lot to be said about that idea, that whole concept.
It works.
That's what we're here for.
Yes.
I was just talking with Carissa. She's a dear friend of mine, and she supports our podcast a lot too. Shout out to you, Carissa. Thank you for always being there, girl. But we were talking about age and life, and it was her birthday recently, and mine, and we were talking about how. So I'm now 43, and I said, you know, I'm proud of the things I've accomplished in 43 years. And I was like, and when I really think about it, I was like, so the first 20 years of my life were straight up just data collection. You know, I was just figuring some random things out, just kind of getting through the days. I was like, then my 20s is when I really started to kind of go, okay, so this is what I've learned so far. And I'm going to start applying that knowledge and trying to find the things that light me up inside. And then my 20s were all about, lots of just, whoops, that's weird and hard and didn't work. And let me regroup and try it a different way and whatever. In the 30s, things started to really click. Like things were clicking. It was like, okay, I learned a lot of contrast about a lot of things that didn't really work for me and didn't serve me well. So then I was thinking, I'm in my 40s now. I have all this great information. I'm starting to know really who I am and what works for me. And I was like, dang, my next 40 years look bright. I was like, I'm like really feeling hopeful.
I feel the same. I feel the same. I had children at 21 and 23. So in my 20s, it was kind of a blur. It wasn't until my 30s that I started doing more of these things and getting all this data collected, right? Yeah. And so now in my 40s, I really am finding myself too and what I want. And I'm setting boundaries. That is a big deal. That is something
we should talk
you
about
have to learn. That is hard.
What were you going to say?
I just want to say for any of our younger viewers and listeners, like that's a good thing to remember. I was just on a shoot with somebody who was really upset about turning 30. Like she made a face and I'm not quite to 40 yet, but I'm getting close. And I'm like, you're making a face about 30? But then I remembered when a lot of my friends were turning 30 and went in a panic mode about it. Like it's so old. And more of that was, well, I haven't accomplished all the things that I wanted to by this time. To me, the older I get, the better everything gets. Like, I mean, not so much the graying hair and all the, the physical aging things, not as great, but the things that we can accomplish and the confidence and the mindset and just all of the good stuff that comes with age and experience.
I have my 24-year-old son who thinks he has to have it all figured out right now, right? And so we have those conversations a lot because I'm like, hello, I'm still figuring it out. I'm 45. Like there's no right or wrong way, just be a responsible, nice adult and do what you want to do in life. Like the opportunities are there if you want them, it's how hard you work for them and all those good things. But
it's great advice.
It is really good advice. So
don't be afraid of getting older.
Yeah.
Good things come from.
This is the first year. 45 was the only time in my life that I've had a issue with age. Like this has been a year of just kind of reflection. And again, I'll say, oh, what am I doing with my life? Right. And then somebody else is like, are you kidding me? Like you've done like all these things, but I still feel like, no, there's still so much more to do. I don't feel like I'm even close to where I want to be. At this point.
It's like we're just getting warmed up.
Yeah.
Isn't that a great feeling? I know that's how I always feel too. I'm like, man, I'm just my engine is just getting warm.
Yours is.
Thank you. I don't even feel like I'm on fire yet, like I'm just like
just warm.
Yeah. Little sparks are starting to fly a little bit.
Yeah.
But
I feel the same.
We are coming into with each passing year, you're just more and more coming into yourself and settling into yourself and finding all your strengths and you start to, like we're saying, get comfortable with those decisions, being able to flex those muscles and make those decisions and believing in yourself and knowing you've got everything you need, that you can do it. And you said boundaries a couple minutes ago. I want to what were you going to say about that?
That's been a game changer for me. Like, cause I've always been the people pleaser in my whole life. Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to make my family happy and I'm going to bring us all together and I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And if everyone wasn't happy, I found like I needed to fix it. Yeah. Where now I'm like, no.
Not my problem.
You're going to have to fix your own problems and I'm going to just focus on myself and including my own children.
Yeah.
I have my older kids and they do some things that I don't agree or whatever is happening, but I'm also letting them figure out how to fix it too on their own. And I'm not trying to fix it for them. I'm not trying to, because, you got to learn.
Good life skills. You need to learn how to fix stuff.
Yes. And most of our young kids today don't understand that concept, right? They've been handed everything so much. And I'm not saying my kids haven't been handed things, but I'm also teaching them that, you're responsible for yourself and your actions and all of those things. And but boundaries has been just in this last year of me saying no. If something isn't serving me or like I don't want to be there and really paying attention to my energy, like does it make me uncomfortable? If it makes me uncomfortable, then I'm going to say no. But there's all these years up until now that I was not able to do that. So I would make myself uncomfortable to follow through with them, and that's not okay.
Yeah.
So I've learned that.
One of I'm right there with you on the saying no more. And because every time you say no, you're saying yes to you, which is a really great thing. And one of my things that I've been really trying to, force myself to do is if I have to say no to something, I used to always feel like I had to follow it up with like this long-winded reason and why I can't. And I've been just saying, no, I'm not available.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
no.
that doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
What else?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. And I'm like, wow, that's so less energy to just say that. Like, wow.
Why didn't I do this 10 years ago, right?
Because I was still data collecting.
Right. See, it all has a purpose.
Now I'm applying.
And now you realize you don't have to justify your why to anybody.
It's a beautiful thing. It's
because
so
chances
nice.
are they're not going to understand anyway. I deal with this all the time. People don't
understand from their perspective,
exactly.
right?
And so it's like you don't need to understand.
Yeah.
But my answer is no.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
And you go do your thing and you have fun, and that's
it doesn't
fine.
mean I'm mean or mad or any of those
or
things.
not happy for them for whatever it is that's going on or whatever. You can be, just...
And like I said, even as my kids, raising kids all these years, like if they're having a bad day or something is happening, I have no problem now locking myself in a timeout and say, okay, where before, oh no, I got to fix it all and I got to make everyone happy and da-da-da. Now I'm like, okay, figure it out. I'll be in here. And when I hear you stop crying, then I'll come out, right? And
you ground yourself.
Yes. And it's totally fine.
I love it. Yeah.
I love it.
Yes.
Well, tell us as we're kind of winding down today. There's just been so much good stuff we've touched on.
So fast.
It's so fast. Tell us about what is Alicia Materra doing right now. Tell us about the recent chapter of goodness that you are doing.
So with my Babyco business, obviously I continue to support women and do all that. I am trying now to get more into corporations so they can understand
Trying? No way. You already are doing. You were just doing some stuff for Zappos recently.
I've been with Zappos almost 3 years where they have me come in once a month and as part of their insurance they offer my classes to their employees and their partners, and so they get to come and learn. I have a series of classes. I do 6 months and then we do another 6 months, so I want more people to jump on that bandwagon because again I really believe education is key. I'm shocked at how many people walk in to have a baby and don't even look into it. Right. They plan more for their wedding or those type of things than this whole life transition.
One of my favorite things that you've said recently is you said, so many women are all they're thinking about is leading up to the moment of having their baby, giving birth, and then it occurs to them that they have to bring this baby home.
Right. They forget.
And then take care of it for the next 18 plus years.
That's the challenging part. Labor's easy. It's raising them for 18 years that is going to cause you some problems, right? So yes, again, having the education, and everyone that leaves my class goes, how are we going to do this before we took your class? I'm like, right. It's one of those, you don't know what you don't know. But once you know, it's a whole game changer of things. So I really want to work on getting into more of these casinos, whatever it is, so they can offer these same, because becoming a parent is a whole big deal, especially
it's
these
kind
days.
of a big deal.
Being responsible for another life.
And I have the experience of raising kids in the 90s and raising kids today. And I can see the difference of social media and all these things that are coming into play for new moms, that we put our best, look at how cute I look today with my kid and da-da-da. That's not realistic. We need to talk about the realistic stuff and, and not feel like these moms are feeling like they're doing something wrong or when they're like, I just want to do everything right. I'm like, nobody is. If you find them, could you send them my way so I can talk to them? Because nobody is doing it right. You're only doing your best every single day. That's all you can do. So education is what I'm really big into now, and in the postpartum work. So coming in to help moms after they have their babies, I just help the family, and every family is different. So some need me to just talk to them. Some need me to hold the baby while they go take a 2-hour shower or whatever they want to do. Some need me to cook them a meal. Some need me to talk to their partner. It's such a variety of things, but I love it. I love what I do. I'm excited for my future. I've just made some changes within my business. I had a space. I just got rid of it 2 months ago because I'm going to now go out and get in the community more. Where before I was like,
because Alicia was like, you know what, this isn't serving me anymore. This isn't what I'm feeling. So know what I'm going to do?
Yeah.
I'm going to lose this building. I'm out of here. And but again,
and that's literally how it went down. I was like,
yeah. I love but that's what I love and respect so much about you. Your straight up resilience. I mean, it's so inspiring.
I love that you picked that word for me.
Well, I reached out to her and said, our whole, our episodes all kind of, center around one word. And I said, the one word that keeps popping in my head for you is resilience. And
even Nick was like, oh my gosh, that's so perfect. Melissa did so great.
she's pretty good at this. Yeah. I do also have to say, there's been a lot of snapping on this episode, and I have some envy with both of your snap game. Because it's like loud. I'm not a good snapper, and you ladies are just
I don't even
on
know
it.
I did it.
So you're snappier than me.
We're snappier.
Yeah.
We got to get you snapping.
Yeah. So speaking of social media, where can people find you?
Las
Pitch
Vegas
yourself,
Babyco on Facebook and Instagram. I'm on both of those, just my business name.
Las Vegas Babyco.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. No, it's so cute. And your posts are always so great. And
I try and keep it real. That's what you'll notice when you go. Again, I'm not doing all the happy and like talking about the crazy stuff too, and what parenthood consists of. And
well, it sounds like people need you. I mean, I'm not a parent. I don't ever want to be a parent, but I understand. Part of that is probably I understand what a difficult job. I know it's not a job,
it
but
is.
that role.
It's a full-time job.
And you're helping these people through the toughest of it when it's brand new and they don't have any idea what to expect other than what maybe they've read or what their friends have told them. And from what I understand, your friends don't really tell you the real truth because they don't want to scare you away from it.
Right.
And so just to have that support person.
The biggest challenge though is that people don't know what they need, right? And so until they're living it, then they're like, wait a minute, I don't know half the things I thought and this type of thing. So that's the challenge. That's why I'm hoping to catch them for their class when they're pregnant, right? And then they get to know me and then they're like, yeah, give me your cell number. And then they'll text. It's easy for them to just text me. There's my snap again.
See, but it's good. It's solid. It's confident.
So that's why I'm happy now that I'm going to be able to get out in the community more. Where before it was a little more challenging because if I'm paying rent, then obviously I want to have the class at my space, right? Where now I can go have classes at hospitals and different things and build those relationships more.
And I think that's really smart.
I want to work in the hospitals with them. Okay. I really want that. And where a lot of doulas do not. They don't want to go to the hospitals. Because sometimes it is a fight, right? But
do you see this just in Las Vegas or you want to do this remotely? And so people who are all over in other places.
Look at that big smile on
yes,
your face.
Of course, everything now can be done through Skype and all those type of, and yes, online classes, of course, that's on my...
So even if you're not in Las Vegas, listeners and viewers, still go to Las Vegas Babyco.
Yeah. .com. LasVegasBabyco.com is my website.
Learn more about it.
Yeah. And all the services.
Well, I will say on a personal note, you were such a huge help to my sister when she had her very first baby and also her second because, she'd never had a baby and she was not around babies. And we came to you. I was like, let's take some classes from Alicia. And I remember you were like, here's a baby and it was like this like pretend like fake placenta and like all this stuff. And my sister and I were like, wow. And
she's like, what is a placenta?
You can see, I make a lot of faces on this, but she brought out this little fake baby that doesn't even exist. You're just putting it in air. And I don't know if you saw, like it scooted back and it was like,
yeah. And then she had to learn how to change the baby's diaper on this. Like, it was hilarious watching my sister, like learning all of this stuff. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. And Alicia's amazing at all this stuff. And I remember when you went to my sister's house after she had her baby, so you could help her with, breastfeeding and some other things that...
I'm a certified lactation counselor, so I am that person too. So helping with breastfeeding and...
I mean, just all of the things, the comfort, because like you said, you take the baby home. And if you've never done that before, there's a whole lot of anxiety around that. And having someone who is going to be able to come in, and not a mom or a parent or something. No. You are a mom, but you're not their mom.
Right.
So there's a different way that a new mom can communicate with you and confide in you and share with you than they can with other people in their life.
Yes, because I always say, is your family helpful? Do you have family here? Are they helpful? Right? That's another key component here. But I always say I come in with no judgment. Yeah. So I'm not going to come in and go, well, I bottle fed all my kids. It's okay if you give the bottle if they don't want to do that, right? I'm also that person that if they want to quit breastfeeding, I'm going to help them.
Yeah.
I'm not going to judge them, and I'm not going to make them feel like they did anything wrong. You know, I'm that type of, that's what I'm saying. I'm standing alone a little bit in that because I just support the mom and her mental health. That is most important to me. And so I am that calming person. I get that a lot too, where people are like, you're just so calm and you're just so relaxed.
You are.
So I bring that calm to their home after they have the baby, and I just try and help them and make them feel confident in their parenting decisions and stuff. So.
Well, you are a breath of fresh air, and anyone that you get to help is very lucky that they get to have you. And man, this hour flew right by.
It did.
Wasn't that crazy?
But
you
learned
told all kinds of stuff today.
But she told me that I would love you, and I don't question it. But like everything you said in my head, I'm like, yes. So thank you for coming here and sharing your insights.
Mm-hmm. You're amazing. And I have to do as per usual, I would like to end on a really awkward note. We're doing a real awkward ending here. So I'm going to sign off by saying to all of our listeners, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And let's do an air high five right now for Alicia Materra and Las Vegas Babyco.
Thanks for tuning into the Womanpreneur podcast. Until next time, you've got this.